future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
And greetings and salutations, everyone. You've tuned in once again, to Dr. Judy, WTF. I am your host, Walt Lusk, and Dr. Judy Rosenberg is, of course, here as well. And what does the WTF stand for? What the Freud. And we are going to be continuing our show from last week on HSP, highly sensitive people or highly sensitive person. And about 20% of us are, and it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. And I are one of, and it turns out, Dr. Judy, you might be one too.
I think I am.
You are too. They say that highly sensitive people make fabulous therapists, so it would make sense that you are a highly sensitive person.
There's a silver lining in there somewhere, right?
And hopefully a pot of gold.
Okay.
But I wanted to start real quick. Who in the past, kind of, sort of, has been highly sensitive people? Abraham Lincoln, Jane Goodall, Princess Diana, Katharine Hepburn, Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, Glenn Close, Steve Martin, Eleanor Roosevelt, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Robert Frost, Emily Dickinson, Frank Lloyd Wright, Ansel Adams, Barbra Streisand, Mozart, Neil Young, Alanis Morissette. So you got to stay tuned because we're going to do a song by Alanis Morissette later on. And Elton John, just to name a slight few.
Well, a lot of artists, and with the highly sensitive person comes a lot of creativity and also a lot of pain. So through pain, there becomes art, right? Which is an elevation of our pain in many instances. So I'm not too surprised to hear that people like Elton John and Frank Lloyd Wright and Emily Dickinson and all the greats of the greats of the great are highly sensitive people, because in essence, from a mind map perspective, some of you are familiar with the mind map system for healing human disconnect. And I want to get it up there so people can actually see it.
And those of you who are listening, you can actually go to drjudywtf.com. And also wanted to elaborate real quick, this is also a call-in show. So if you want to get on the couch with Dr. High sensitive person Judy, and with your emotional ouch, feel free. And our number in California and the United States is area code 323-843-2826. That's 323-843-2826. And if it's international, please go to your Skype and do UBN Radio number 2. That's for Universal Broadcasting Network. UBN Radio number 2. So there you go. So we're rating.
So last time we talked about highly sensitive people.
You know what?
Do we have a caller?
Yeah, we do.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for calling. You are on the couch with Dr. Judy and Walt.
Hi.
Hi.
And your name?
My name is Sherry.
Hey, Sherry. Thanks for calling.
Yes, thanks for calling.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, sure. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Greenwood, Indiana.
Indiana.
Okay,
well,
great.
Thanks so much for calling. What's up?
Well, I'm noticing a pattern in my life. I'm kind of having some problems with some workplace bullying by women who are in mentor or supervisory positions.
Okay.
I did grow up with a very strong, domineering mother who was physically abusive toward me and who kind of tended to leave me out.
Okay.
And I've been trying to work on this pattern with therapists when I can. And I've tried to do different things. I've tried to report it. I've tried to, confront the person. And it seems like sometimes I lose my job no matter what. And it's only been one time that I've really been able to get through it and stay there and not have a problem. But it's really starting, this pattern is really starting to disrupt my life because if I'm in a culture of no communication where things like that just aren't discussed, I inevitably end up losing my job. And
okay,
so a lot
look,
of economic hardship for me.
So first of all, I want you to watch the videos on
Corporate?
healing corporate
Healing corporate disconnect. We had 3 of them.
Yes, because corporations can be like dysfunctional families.
Very dysfunctional family.
And so therefore it's a system repeated. So if you were bullied, if you were at the effect of your mother, if you were emotionally injured, physically injured by her, then it makes sense that you would do what I call what the Freud, a WTF, which is a loop through, which is you put yourself in the same situation and then you keep going through the whole cycle and come out the other end not well. So does that sound familiar to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So number one, well, let's tie it to highly sensitive people since that's our topic. What I wanted to show on the mind map is panel 5. Maybe we can jump there for a minute because the mind map maps out how we become sensitive. And of course, there's this big argument between nature and nurture. And I think ultimately it's a nature-nurture thing where we're naturally born a certain way. Our neurons are structured a certain way. Our skin is sensitive or maybe not as sensitive. And then nature is triggered by nurture. So think about it as, look at panel number 5. Okay, if you look at panel number 5, it represents metaphorically our outer shell, our ism, okay, our defense mechanisms or lack thereof. And so if we're poked and bullied and we're not really stood up for in our youth, then what happens is we become overly permeable and we let in all the bad and we don't know how to fight the good. Or we try to fight the bad, but we're in a poisonous, toxic atmosphere, like, can you imagine your home environment maybe? Okay. And so you're back in that poison again. And so you don't have the skin, you don't have the emotional skin to fight it off. And so sometimes people just have to quit their job. I had a woman today in my office who is really suffering from work stress. And there comes a point where you say to yourself, you know, I've done everything possible. I've done therapy. I've made myself as hardy, emotionally hardy as possible, but this is just too much. And sometimes life is a little too much stress at work or a little too toxic, or 1 or 2 employees can really ruin a situation. So here's what I want to say about this. Number 1, you have to identify your childhood wounds, which you're telling me about already. The lack of somebody really standing up for you, having your back, okay? And then we don't get strengthened by that. You know, people think that we get hardier if we're pushed around and kicked around. Sometimes not. No. Sometimes
sticks and stones.
We weaken because we don't have that inner sense of self that our parents are supposed to give us. So, number 1, learn what your childhood wounds are, how you reacted to them, and what you encoded, because your encoding is your negative core belief that then gets tripped up, literally puts you on a bad trip when coworkers and systems such as work systems start messing with you and then literally trigger you off into, as you could see on the mind map. I don't know, is it still up there?
It can be up.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you could see chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. So your job is to really understand what your trigger is, understand how to beef up your boundaries, so to speak, and then be realistic with yourself and know that there's some things that you can't tolerate, and there's some things that need pushback, and there are other people that can't be pushed back because some people are in positions where if you push back, they'll push you out, and that's just the way things go. So what are you going to do about that, right? Okay, right. I've talked a lot, and I'm sure you have maybe a thought or question or 2 in there. Go for it.
Well, I could sense from the very beginning that this woman was toxic. I mean, when she got near me, it's really weird. I just, my personal energy bubble around me just did not feel good.
Okay.
And I could tell that she was just very high-strung, impatient, dynamic. I mean, she'd get right in your face and say something really suddenly, and she's like 3 inches away from your nose.
Yeah, nice
and this time
space there.
Absolutely no space at all.
And I feel bad because in this situation, I didn't do anything because I could tell that the other employees weren't comfortable talking about their mentors. And this time it happened, I just didn't say anything.
Okay.
And I wound up getting pushed out because she wasn't communicating and doing her job anyway. And, so I don't know. It's hard for me to tell, should I say something or should I not say something? Because
it's even hard for me to tell whether to say something or not. It all depends. Number one, how badly do you need the money? If you need the money badly, I guess you pay to put up with it to a certain degree. If you can transfer to another department, great. If you feel that human resources is your friend, you can kind of test it a little bit. Wonderful. If they're not your friend, then don't pretend that they're going to stick up for you. Just like your parents didn't stick up for you against the bullies. Maybe they're going to do the same thing. So you have to really understand who you're playing with here. And as you pointed out, the highly sensitive part of you already picked up, because we're all animals. We have instinct. We have to listen to that gut instinct. And highly sensitive people will definitely pick up on things faster. So do we have another call, Walt? Okay, so I just want to say I really do think it would be a good idea for you to get the book, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect. It'll dissect it all for you, the whole mind map. And if you feel that you want to do some work on yourself, by all means, reach out to the Psychological Healing Center, and we'll match you with a therapist. But in the meantime, be smart, okay? Don't leave a situation until you've assessed it, and then once you've assessed it, replace it before you leave if you have to, okay?
I didn't have that choice. They fired me very suddenly.
All right.
I had no warning at all.
Maybe blessing in disguise. I call them curse by design. So thank you so much for calling in. And do we have the caller online? Okay, well, please call back.
They call back.
Okay,
all right. Sherry, thanks so much for calling.
Really appreciate it.
God bless.
Thank you so much, you guys. God bless you both.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hi, you are on the couch with Dr. Judy and Walt. Hello?
Hi.
And
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, if you have your speakers on, if you might want to turn them off in the background.
And we could hear your dog. Does your dog have anything to say?
You have no idea.
A lot. I want to hear from him or her.
Yeah. Well, highly sensitive people are also very receptive and sensitive to animals, and animals pick up on it. So there you go.
Okay, so what is your name?
I'm trying to explain to my dog.
Okay. It's okay. What is your name?
I don't know. My name is Dee.
Dee. Okay. And where are you calling from,
yes.
Dee? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
And I actually spoke to you not too long ago.
Oh, hi. Okay. Yes.
Hi. Yes. And I was trying to listen live, but for whatever reason, can you still hear my dog? But for whatever reason, I couldn't get on. So I know the topic, but I guess the reason I'm really calling is just to, thank you. I talked to Dr. Irene, and I just feel like, I'm on the track to getting just some help.
Have you started your work with Dr. Irene at the Psychological Healing Center? Have you started the work with her? Hello? Hello?
I guess we lost her.
Okay, well, she'll call back and just...
And thanks for calling. You are on the couch with Dr. Judy and Walt.
Hello. I'm Lexi, and I have a question about doing this.
Do you have a particular question regarding the topic? The topic is highly sensitive people. Do you have a particular question that regards that topic?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, if there's something that you want to chat about that pertains to you in your life, just call me. I'm happy to talk to you. I know Dr. Irene is available, so just call back, okay? And I really appreciate you calling in and being appreciative, and let me know how your therapy goes with her. Will you please?
It's a different caller.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, is this a, yeah.
That was a different caller, but that's okay.
It was a different caller?
That's all right.
Oh.
Yeah, we lost her, and then somebody else called in.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
You know what? It happens to the best of us.
Call back.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Okay, didn't get that. I
So
thought it was the
we
same
found
voice.
Sherry. She's called back.
Okay. Hi, Sherry.
You're back on.
Okay. Hi, Sherry.
Yes.
So do you have a particular question pertaining to highly sensitive people?
You know, I guess my question would be, I think I'm highly sensitive.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, stay tuned and watch the show from last week. And if you want, you can request the notes at info@drjudywtf.com, and that would probably give you a little bit more information.
And also, Sherry, one way to understand your sensitivity is to understand your childhood wounds, and there are 5 of them. So I'm just reviewing it for the audience. There's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's emotional abuse, and then there is also neglect and smothering. Okay, so any of these abuses will puncture our psychological skin, so to speak, or smother our psychological skin so that we cannot grow and get strong. You have no idea how many people I work with who think that they're not wounded, and then we find out that their mother smothered them, or their father and mother smothered them, and now they're just sitting on a couch all day, and they have no wherewithal to go to work, and they're just getting weaker and weaker and turning inward to drugs and alcohol and imploding. Okay, so what makes us highly sensitive? Yes, nature and definitely nurture. So go back into those childhood wounds and see what made you sensitive, and then see what triggers you off by understanding a little bit more about your core belief, which is actually the blueprint of what your parents encoded into you. So through the Mindmap Therapy, you get to study your encode, you get to decode the poison, and then you get to recode and reset your boundary and thicken your psychological skin, so to speak, so that you're, even with highly sensitive people, you could learn how to self-regulate better, so that you're not just at the effect of other people, and that you're not being poked and bullied and penetrated and violated and all those wonderful, horrible ways that we are treated. Okay, so does that make sense to you? Does that help to conceptualize what's going on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this is Dee, the one with the barking dog.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe
right. We got you back.
And your dog might be highly sensitive also.
Yes.
In which
really
case,
believe.
and I'm such a big dog lover, I just have to say, you know, animals are very highly sensitive because that's their nature. They have whiskers. They could pick up on different sounds, different tastes, and we as humans, we have to regulate them. So if noises are too loud, we can't be blaring our music just because we like music really loud. We have to understand our animals might not like music at such a volume. They might not like the heat that we like in the sun. They're not sunbathers necessarily. They get overheated. And just because I'm such an animal lover, it's July, it's hot. Please do not leave your animals
in the
car. Please, please, please. Hopefully that request could save the life of an animal. And also your children while you're at it, okay? Okay, let's include them too, okay? So
be sensitive to your children as well.
Yes, because children don't have the ability to self-regulate. It's the parents and the adults that do it for them. Okay, so learn yourself, learn your sensitivities, learn your triggers, and then you can beef up that psychological skin, so to speak. Make sense?
And one thing that helped me, because I didn't learn about HSP until last year, is I just read a book. There's a couple of books out. You can go to Amazon. There's a couple of very popular ones. Dr. Aon, A-O-N, is been quoted a lot on the material that we're reading here. And that will obviously enlighten you as to what's going on as well.
And thank you very, very much for calling in. Feel free to contact us at the Psychological Healing Center if you have any more questions or you want to get involved in the Mindmap Therapy. And, of course, you know about the book, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect. That
available at Amazon.
Yeah, breaks it all down for you, okay?
Right. And I'm going through the therapy currently.
With Dr. Irene?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm really happy to know that. She's really smart and very competent woman. And let me know how that goes, okay? And
absolutely.
And your name is
D.
D, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to speak with you, and just learn this stuff. It'll really give you a lot of ability to self-regulate.
Yeah, and I've been reading. Well, I'm just with the Piano 1. I just started that. So
Okay.
I've been reading the book as well. So.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Just working through it.
Well, it's a journey and a process, and thank you so much for being part of our show and part of the Psychological Healing Center.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Have a great night, Dee.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
You too.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good night. Bye.
You had mentioned last time about whether or not it was nature versus nurture, and I did a couple of things regarding this. And brains, HSP brains, were more responsive to expressions and emotions of faces of others, and it didn't matter whether you knew them or not, strangers included, happy or sad, and but their brains were especially receptive to emotions of husband and wife, people they know very well, and they're really responsive to more positive emotions than negative.
Okay.
And there's possibly be a more active in the amygdala, which you've talked about.
Which is the emotional brain.
Right, the brain responsible for emotional regulation and evaluating pleasure and threat.
And it's really difficult to make that distinction, whether it's nature or nurture, because as we all know, nature will morph when we nurture properly. For example, if you have a propensity toward diabetes but you never eat sugar or carbs, then that just won't show up, will it? So who cares at that point about the nature part? If you're nurturing yourself with healthy foods, it's just not going to show up. And so we also know that the brain can be damaged by emotions, that if we're constantly neglected and abused, it's a psychosomatic, it's the mind-body connection. So there's no such thing as a pure distinction between nature and nurture. They interact with each other. And
one line here, emotions are not only about how we feel about the world, but how our brains influence our perception of it. There we go. Right. So I think that's a really key thing is, we can look at the world one way, but if our brains are kind of interpreting it, again, you talk about the cracked lens of perception,
very much
then
so.
all of a sudden our perception is really cracked.
Yeah, and we do a lot of today, it's very popular, the mindfulness, the power of now, and just to be in the moment, which is so essential. And at the same time, we have to recognize that how we experience the moment is not just in that moment, that we drag the past into that moment.
Well, one thing that us HSPs do is we process a lot.
Okay.
So an incident will occur, and once we're away from it, we're going to look at it, analyze it. I sometimes have what's called delayed intelligence. I go, gosh, I should have said that. And I just go over it, and finally I'm done.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's delayed intelligence.
I think I have that too.
Hey, thanks for calling. You're on the couch with Dr. Judy and Walt.
Hi.
Hi, Walt and Dr. Judy.
Hi.
This is Sandra from Oregon. I called.
Hey, Sandra.
Week.
Nice to hear you again.
Yeah, and I just started my mind map exploration with Irene.
Congratulations.
Today.
Yes. Wow. Great. Okay. How was it? How was the experience?
I'm very excited. It's already really good. I'm starting to look at, again, some childhood things that certainly made me very sensitive and
Yes.
very aware of people's expressions. Like, had a mother who was basically, I guess, an enabler of my alcoholic father.
Okay.
Until she finally divorced him because those children weren't going to put up with it anymore. But I really learned really quickly to pay attention to how people's emotions were, just everything, made me very highly sensitive.
That's right, and that's such a good point, because children in families of alcoholics have to be highly sensitive because they don't know what's going to happen next, so they have to preempt everything. So they're really, really tuned in, which makes them hypervigilant, which doesn't foster, in this case, relaxation, obviously, because
we're on edge and kind of aware all the time.
Right, and so therefore you become the caretaker of your mother. You're going to learn a lot in the Mindmap Therapy from Dr. Irene, what it's like when the flow is opposite. In other words, mother's supposed to take care of baby. What happens when baby takes care of mother? It reverses it's like reverse breastfeeding. I know it's a weird metaphor, but it's not the way it's supposed to flow. Okay, so as you go through your therapy, you'll learn more about boundaries, you'll learn more about triggers. Did you have a particular question in mind?
Well, I was interested in what you thought about the somatic responses, because I ended up quitting my job.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Oh my!
Wow. Okay.
Because of the stress that's been going on there, and I had gotten to the point where I was hurting so bad in my neck and my shoulders.
Sure.
That I could barely do my job. It was so painful. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I quit my job, and then on the way driving home, that pain just dissipated. This morning I woke up,
Amazing.
It's all gone.
Wow.
There you go.
Well,
so I'm just saying, I'm learning more and more how sensitive I am, physically sensitive, that because I'm closing all that pain and stuff inside me.
That's
and
right.
Holding it inside and not
exactly.
fighting back, or not like that other woman who just called. I don't fight back. I don't get fired because I fight back. But then when I do quit, then I let them have it with all the stuff I should have been telling them for the whole time.
You give it to them at the end of the road. A couple of things I wanted to say. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
So I don't know if those are healthy ways to handle things, but I know I have a lot to learn about how what is healthy and what is not.
Look, our bodies talk to us, okay? And ideally, we're supposed to express all along, but even work could be a hostage situation. So sometimes you can't say what you really want to say. Imagine feeling free to say whatever you want to say to the boss. I think a lot of F words would be said, and they don't mean Freud in this case. Okay? And so can't do it. So what do? You repress your feelings because you don't want to lose your job, and then that repression becomes suppressed and it turns somatic on
physiological.
you. And you'll learn in panel 5 our defense mechanisms. In panel 5 of the book and your process, you'll learn that one of our symptoms in reaction to the wound is that we can become somatic. We could feel it in our neck. We could feel it in our jaw. We could feel it. That's why chiropractors and massage therapists, they would do well to pair up with therapists and vice versa, because the mind and the body are intricately interconnected. So as I say in panel 5, our symptoms are hieroglyphics or clues that point to the cause. And the cause is our family of origin and how we've been blueprinted, and then the work is the trigger. Get it? So as you think like a shrink, literally you're going to connect the dots to these aha moments where, wow, the work just triggered off my dysfunctional family where I couldn't say a word. I was hostage. I got sick, and then I repressed everything, and then I had to get out of there. Okay, so you'll learn this process so that you don't have to be at the effect of all this. And Dr. Irene is excellent. She's really compassionate and smart, and she'll walk you through this.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Then it's already starting to be good, and I do love your book, and I think it's very helpful. And
thank you.
And being, a sensitive person, I think we do take issue with things, or like the other caller, we just recognize things instantly. We can clue into people.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And use your instincts, okay?
Your intuition.
I don't mean go into paranoia. I mean, use your instincts. So we could usually tell if a person, we're animals. We've got that in us. And we could usually tell if a person is meaning well. We could tell if a person is trying to vampire us, a concept that I use a lot of, and that simply means that when you get with a person, they're taking our energy, they're not giving back to us, and we need to be nourished, and we need to be nourishing to others, and that's how we interconnect. That's how we grow.
Yeah. So going through this journey, as I do the work, I guess I can't wait to start learning how to actually build some boundries and not being so permeable to everyone around me.
Yes, and maybe, I think I even have one of my favorite quotes in the book is, I think it's by Einstein, something like, smart people solve problems and geniuses prevent them. Okay? So maybe
I think it was in the beginning of your
next job, you will interview that job. Maybe you'll spend some time in the work environment. And it's not just them interviewing you, it's you interviewing them, because any job worth having, employer to employee, it's a connection, and it has to be synergistic, and they have to serve you as well as you serve them. So I think that if more people approach jobs that way and said, I think the boss would probably be blown out of his or her mind if you went to the boss and said, look, I'm really, really interested in being a contribution, and I'm really interested in growing, and at the same time, I need certain things for me to grow within your company, and I really want to make sure that we're a match before we waste each other's time and money. I think that's a very honorable approach to getting a job and applying for a job. So maybe you'll be smarter on the going into, whether it's a job or a relationship or a friendship. You want to see how that person behaves over time. Not just, you got the job. Yay, you got the job. Look, now you're running out of the job. So what's so great about that?
It's really a situation, I think, and you read the book, 8 things, used to be 7, of highly effective people, and that is being proactive. Versus reactive.
Right.
And too many of us are reactive and just reactioning to what the heck's hitting us. But if we have a little bit more of a foundation and a little bit more awareness, then, and what we want, then we can be more proactive.
Yes.
And it's easier said than done, but it can be done.
So circle.
I like the one thing that you said, Walter, was don't absorb, observe. So I'm trying to.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah, I think you did one of the talk shows.
Oh, yeah, okay. Don't absorb, observe. But in order to be observed, but in order to observe, you have to absorb. So
little bit. You absorb a little, but you don't have to get poisoned by it.
Yeah.
So it's all you're going to be reshuffling a lot of those boundaries, and you'll see how to work them. Because like a human cell, we have cells that are permeable, non-permeable, semi-permeable, and I talk a lot about this in the book. The ones that are too permeable, they die because too much of the toxins comes in. That's the highly sensitive person. You're overwhelmed. Yep. The non-permeable is you shut everybody out. Okay, so that would be like the 3 little bears and the 3 little chairs. That's the hard chair. The first one is the soft chair, and the just right one is that cell that lets in the good and regulates the cell membrane and keeps out the bad. Okay, so I love to borrow from biology, which was really one of my favorite subjects in school. I like to borrow from the biological model and apply it as a psychological metaphor. So thank you so much for calling in, and
keep us posted.
Yeah, let me know how you're doing with the Mindmap Therapy, and I'm really excited that you're part of it.
You're
now.
an exciting journey, and it's, it'll be through it before you know it.
Yeah.
Thanks. God bless.
Thank you for writing the book and having your show.
Well,
you're welcome.
Enjoy and
helping us with.
Keep it on.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
One thing here interesting about, some signs that people are highly sensitive. I thought I'd touch on that. It's not something you need to fix. It's something you need to be aware of. Because you really can't fix it. We just, as you stated, we need to be aware of it and absorb what was going on. And so the first one I thought was interesting is, which we talked about a lot, is we like loud spaces. We're very sensitive. We dislike loud spaces. In other words,
dislike loud
spaces. Like, for example, if you're working and you're a highly sensitive person and you're in a cubicle in the middle of the room, okay, you are going to pick up on all those sounds and all those sights and all that stuff, and you're going to very easily. And one of them is you'd be easily overwhelmed. So you're going to be overwhelmed with all the input that you're getting. And you can't really turn it off.
So maybe a highly sensitive person wouldn't do very well at a call center, right?
Probably not.
There are little booths going on, and maybe, one of my favorite courses in graduate school was environmental psychology, industrial psychology, and I think it's time that people really, really start applying psychological principles to the environment. Just because of, there's a perfect example. These call centers where there are booths and booths of people, and their productivity could shoot up so much so if people were a little bit more shielded.
Well, they talk about putting a room be in the corner, so you're not really being stimulated, or in a perfect world, maybe in your own office. Okay, or worst case, go home.
Or plants.
Be home. Be at home.
How come people don't think of using plants as dividers? I just thought of that. I don't want anybody out there stealing my idea. But imagine beautiful Leland cypresses used as dividers between. It's natural. The oxygenation of the room. It's green. You can get filtered light through it. It catches the sound. I think we just have to start becoming more creative and human and humane and a little bit more connected to our environment.
And another one is when we get hungry, we just don't really function real well. So hunger often leads to anger of highly sensitive people. They're more sensitive to anything from caffeine to physical pain. I know I can't drink caffeine in anything after if I drink it after 2:00 in the afternoon, it really impacts me. So, if on an empty stomach really is uncomfortable, then you know what? Put some food inside you.
Sure.
As I said here, a big one is, as we talked about, is being overwhelmed. It's a really big one. When we're faced with tasks to do in a day, highly sensitive people may have trouble organizing the order with which to do them, and they just get so overwhelmed, they just can't figure out what to do and how to do it, and they just I always walk away for a few minutes and come back.
By the way, they call that ADD or ADHD,
ADD.
And I'm not really clear about that as being a true diagnosis. My definition, I'll put my 2 cents in about this. My definition of these distractible disorders is that we're not emotionally regulated, and they have to do with childhood wounds. And so we're so busy being internal and regulating and licking our emotional wounds that we can't find our keys. And so I know that to be so for myself, that when I'm preoccupied, when I'm not feeling well, either physically or emotionally, I tend to lose things more. I tend to forget things. I go, maybe it's age 2, I walk into the kitchen. I don't remember why I walked in there. So definitely our cognition is affected. And if we're highly sensitive and our feelings are hurt, well, we're busy internally, and so therefore we can't focus externally as well.
We are very sensitive to music and art. I mean, how many of you have even just seen a Hallmark commercial, right? 30-minute Hallmark commercial, and it's like, oh my gosh, you tear up or you feel emotional. We often get emotional chills up our spine and tears in our eyes. That's just part of the brain activating what's going on, and we cry. We're more involved and emotional in terms of a simple performance. Again, we hate loud noises. We notice other people when they are uncomfortable.
So we're tuned in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have a deep sense of empathy, noticing when it's too cold in the room or the lights are too bright. We don't like bright lights. I know in my room I don't have a bright light. I have more diffused light just because it's just too much for me and too bright.
And I know my dog, Simon, who's now up on the Psychological Healing Center webpage.
Yes, he is.
And you can meet Simon, my dog, by going to the drjudywtf.com, and he's under the section of emotional support animals. He also helps to calm patients down, and he helps them with dog phobia. And really, seriously, my dog is a highly sensitive empath dog, and when people aren't feeling well, he'll go up to them and give them special attention and look them in the eyes. And so sometimes I wonder if people are actually coming to see me
or seeing Simon.
And so animals are highly sensitive.
Well, you need to give him some special treats, Dr. G.
Yeah, he's treated very well, very, very well.
And highly sensitive people, again, be more aware of people being comfortable and uncomfortable. They make really great friends because we make sure everybody's comfortable. Mm-hmm. We don't like violent movies. I'm no fan of. I don't mind violence as long as it's apropos, but horror is just not my thing. Okay, and we hate being in the spotlight. We love we're team players, and we love being part of a team, but we just don't really want to be in the spotlight, which also means that, for example, in sports, we want to do stuff a little bit more individual than play in a team because we might be too observed and too looked at and too it just makes us feel uncomfortable. We need time to recover. Sometimes we just get so overwhelmed and stuff hits at us that sometimes, and we get too much stimulation that we need to just reset ourselves. And maybe that's sleep, maybe that's just closing your eyes and being in a dark room, or meditation, or going to bed early. Could be lots of different things.
Right, and again, setting our boundaries. If we need to take breaks from work, if we need to stretch, if we need that time just to do something like nothing. Nothing is good sometimes. Just take some time to do nothing at all. We need that space to clear our minds so that we can regulate our sensitivities, our emotions.
We are very polite, and we're sometimes too much of a people pleaser because we're overly polite. We are very observant. So if there's something that requires detail, highly sensitive people are terrific because we're very detail-oriented. They notice every little nuance. Maybe when someone comes in with a new tie or even just a tie clip, sometimes that's going to get noticed faster by HSP. But they'll always notice something being genuine or not as well. So again, we have a BS sensitivity.
So they'd be good for noticing. They'd be probably great with skin, right?
Yes.
And maybe with aesthetics, they could do a lot of work with art and aesthetics because they're detail oriented. So they'll look at the details and correct them quicker than somebody who just sort of glosses it over.
We have a higher. We have a lower pain tolerance. So pain, not only in terms of emotional pain, but physical pain seems to impact us more. And, not that we're being wimps, we just feel it more, right? But conversely, from a physical perspective, we feel more things. Like, for example, the emotions and everything associated with it, with making love. It's more it's more heightened because we feel it more.
Or
so
more
there's and more permeable. So we
and then we get hurt more easily, right?
We do.
So both, sort of like that statement that somebody told me from AA: that which makes you rich can make you poor. That which makes you poor can make you rich. So in other words, highly sensitive people are rich in the sense that they're creative.
We're very creative.
But then we could also get more easily hurt. So we have to be very, very careful. Sort of like a food allergy. If we're allergic to certain foods, we don't want to be around that food. So we have
Not
to
usually.
really monitor what goes in to our psychological system.
And our brains. We are usually not the only one in the family that's sensitive. There are others in your family, if you have brothers and sisters, that just might be equally highly sensitive as yourself. And many times we don't take great care of our bodies. We put off things like taking proper breaks, exercising, making a point to eat healthily, balanced, just because we just are, so overwhelmed and so sensitive that we just ignore ourselves. Okay? So that's about all the time we have. So if you want more, it's time to shrink that tune.
Okay.
If you want more, you can write us at info@drjudywtf.com. And again, this was a suggestion by a listener, and it was a fabulous one. And so, keep those ideas coming and suggestions coming. Also, if you've read Dr. Judy's book on Amazon, we'd love it if you'd put a comment. And if you have been a patient of Dr. Judy anywhere in the world, you can go on Yelp here in the United States, either on Sherman Oaks or Beverly Hills, and put a comment on there as well. We would really appreciate that.
And the team as well.
And any of the therapists on the team, absolutely. Anybody at the Psychological Healing Center.
Right. And we really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. And go to our website, go to Facebook, and like us on Facebook. We're trying to get some more Facebook. And we're going to be working on Instagram and some other stuff as well. So now is time for our song. We're going to Shrink. And Alanis Morissette is a HSP. And by request, Dr. Judy, we're going to do the song You Oughta Know.
Well, I love Alanis Morissette, so let's go into this.
I want you to know that I'm happy for you. I wish nothing but the best for you both. An older version of me, is she perverted like me? Would she go down on you in the theater? Does she speak eloquently? And would she have your baby? I'm sure she'd make a really excellent mother.
Well, here's somebody that was really hurt, probably replaced by another woman, and she's saying, I'm really happy for you. Not so happy. And so she's comparing herself because she's sensitive. An older version of me, so she's already putting her down. She's probably an older version of her. And perverted like me. Like, really? Is she going to go down on you like I used to? Does she speak eloquently like I do? Is she that great that you needed to replace me with her? So there's a lot of hurt, a lot of envy.
Pain.
Yeah, a lot of anger.
Because the love that you gave, that we made, wasn't able to make it enough for you to be open wide. No. And every time you speak her name, does she know how you told me, until you died, till you died, but you're still alive.
Well, in other words, she's saying, oh, poor next one, because you already committed to me. And so she's kind of warning the next woman that, she's just a replacement. The same thing's going to happen to her because there's probably a little narcissism going on here too.
Well,
right?
repetition.
Right, that she's sensing that this guy throws away women easily, maybe.
And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away. It's not fair to deny me of the cross I bear that you gave to me. You ought to know.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when it pertains to breakup, we can't just be a throwaway society.
No.
I understand you break up with somebody who's cheated on you or somebody who is really, really going to ruin your life. But in most cases, it's a horrible thing to recover from a breakup. So she's saying, wow, you brought me here. Now, you ought to know better that this is not healthy for anyone.
You seem very well. Things look peaceful. I'm not quite as well. I thought you should know. Do you forget about me, Mr. Duplicity? I hate to bug you in the middle of dinner. It was a slap in the face how quickly I was replaced. Are you thinking of me when you make love to her?
You don't want to say the word. Nice, Walt. Okay, so yeah, she's wondering if Mr. Duplicity that he told her that he would be with her till the end, and now there's somebody in her place, and she's hurting, and he's just having dinner and being with another woman, and so isn't life unfair here.
Well, he's moved on and she hasn't.
Right. And we don't know that because it seems like he hasn't either, because it seems like he's replaced her. Remember Narcissistic Supply?
Yeah, they just move on to the next one.
So she's just a narcissist. So she actually dodged a bullet, but she's crying about it.
Mm-hmm.
The bullet that she dodged.
Because that love you gave me when we weren't able to make it enough for you to open wide. No. And every time you speak her name, does she know how you told me you'd hold me until you died, but you're still alive?
And so, in other words, she's questioning, so did you tell her that you're going to drop her next, pretty much?
Yeah.
That you just make promises to people. You don't keep them anyway. Is she aware?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away. It's not fair to deny me of the cross I bear that you gave me. You ought to know. Because the joke that you laid on the bed, that was me. And I'm not going to fade. As soon as you close your eyes, and you know it, and every time I scratch my nails down someone else's back, I hope you feel it. Well, can you feel it?
So she's trying to enact a little bit of revenge by saying, well, I'm going to make somebody else scream while making love, and you're not part of that anymore, so I want you to feel that too. I can hurt you too.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away. It's not fair to deny me of the cross I bear that you gave to me. You ought to know.
So, Alanis Morissette, please, I hope that you take some time to get to know the guy that you're going to open up to, because you're a highly sensitive person, as I am, as Walt is, and I've spoken about it. I've been caught by a covert narcissist, and it's easy when you're a highly sensitive person, because people who are needing supply will prey on people who are kind-hearted and empathic and a little bit of a sucker, and and so on. And so we ought to know. Not only should they know, we ought to know what our sensitivities are and our boundaries, and we need to do a better job. I'm talking to all those people out there, highly sensitive people. We ought to know to protect ourselves better.
And that has been our show this week and last of Highly Sensitive Person or Highly Sensitive People here at Dr. Judy WTF, What the Freud. I'm your host, Walt Lusk, with Dr. Judy Rosenberg, who is the author of the book. Would highly recommend it. Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect, and of course is available on Amazon. And we have a plethora of therapists that can assist you in this regard at the Psychological Healing Center. Dr. Judy and her staple of therapists, and we're going to get another one on soon, I hope. And you can contact us at drjudywtf.com. If you have a comment, question, you want our show notes, be happy to pass them along to anybody that inquires. Just write us.
Thing, we have people who speak Spanish.
Yes, we have
I speak Hungarian badly, but I do. We have Vietnamese speaking. We have Russian, Armenian, and Farsi. So for those of you who need to be spoken to in your language of origin.
You want to run those by again?
Yeah, okay, so there is Russian, Armenian, Farsi, Hungarian, obviously English, and Spanish. There we have it.
Muy bueno. And we are heard every Thursday here at 8 o'clock Pacific here in Los Angeles on UBN Radio Network. And you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn, and of course YouTube. And we appreciate every share, like, subscribe, and comment that you throw on there. So until next time, next week we're probably going to do a show on flying monkeys. For those of you that have been a victim of narcissists, monkeys.
So I love The Wizard of Oz. So if
Wizard
you
of Oz is
prepare
back.
yourself for the flying monkey episode,
yes,
go watch
we're
The Wizard of Oz.
Flying monkey episode.
Or read my book, because my book uses the metaphor of the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, so you and NEM can go check out the Wizard of Oz and the flying monkeys. So until next time, folks, here's our song. This is Dr. Judy WTF with Walt Lusk and Dr. Judy Rosenberg. Take care, everyone, and God bless.